Hey guys, Carlo Filippone here, your muscle chef, ready to talk to you about this guy, the chicken pound. What do we do with the chicken pound? We prepare grilled chicken in different flavors, 6 to be exact. If you're serious about bodybuilding and you meal prep, don't go anywhere else. This is the company for you.
RX Television on RxMuscle.com. This is Ask Dave, better known as hashtag Ask Dave, brought to you by Species Nutrition, Titan Medical, the Dubai Muscle Show, Lift Ugly, and the Chicken Pound. I'm your host, Sadiq Faruqi. This is your 30-minute question and answer show with Dave Palumbo. All your questions on diet, training, supplementation, IFBB pros, competitions, off-season, whatever's on your mind, it is all on the table. So we now bring in Dave Palumbo. Dave, exciting news. You just broke the whole breakdown of the Black Friday sale. We had promised something big on social media, and in my opinion, we have absolutely delivered. 40% off store-wide, in addition to if somebody spends what will be the equivalent of $100 worth at speciesnutrition.com, they get, first of all, they get that for $60, and then they get, of course, some free swag as well. Tell the audience about the Species Nutrition Black Friday sale.
Look, I wanted to have the biggest Black Friday sale in the supplement industry. I wanted to give away the most. I wanted to give people the most value they could possibly get, but it's only for 24 hours. So if you guys don't act fast, I don't want to hear on Saturday or on Monday, hey, Dave, can I get the seal? Can I get the sale? I'm your client. I know you for 40 years. It's only for 24 hours. Okay, if you spend $60, that means after the 40% off, because I'm going to give you 40% off the whole site. That's every product, not just something I'm trying to move. The whole site, 40% off at speciesnutrition.com. If after that discount you spend $60, I'm going to give you a free gym bag, and it's not a little gym bag. This is a big gym bag, and I'm going to give you a free t-shirt. Okay, that's a lot of stuff you're getting for a very small amount. And guess what? If you spend over $100, you get free shipping. So I'm giving away the farm on Black Friday. I don't want to hear any more complaints. Act on Friday. Don't wait. And because you know what? It's while supplies last. So if we run out of stuff because everyone's buying, because I assume we're going to get probably over 1,000 orders. You know, we usually, when we do sales like this, we usually get 500 to 700 orders. We definitely get over 1,000 orders, and we might even go more than that. So if I run out of t-shirts or gym bags or protein or, you know, God forbid something else, I can't guarantee it. There's no rain checks. It's the biggest Black Friday sale on the net. Check it out at speciesnutrition.com.
Also, Dave, real quick, on RxMuscle.com and the YouTube channel right now, we have our interview with Phil Heath, and then a real tell-all, stories that I don't think bodybuilding fans have heard before from Chris Cormier. Both those interviews right now at RxMuscle.com.
I got to tell you, I'm a little shell-shocked. I did a lot of interviews yesterday. I did Phil Heath, Chris Cormier, Matt Schmidt, who won the Open NPC Nationals. I did a couple other recordings too. My brain was so I couldn't even think after I left the studio. All we did was record the whole day because obviously we got Thanksgiving coming up, and we did a lot of recording today as well. So these interviews are top-notch, cutting-edge, insightful into who these people are. The Cormier interview is phenomenal. You know, I know Chris a very long time. I've spent time with him. I've gone out with him. You know, I'm pretty close to him, even though I don't hang out with him on a daily basis. And, you know, that Chris Cormier documentary that these Australian guys shot was so good that I couldn't wait to get Chris on and talk about it, to ask him more questions about it. So you guys are going to want to watch this documentary, but you're also going to want to hear the interview we did because it kind of complements or adds to the documentary. I mean, Chris really opens up. He's at a point in his life now, he's like, you know what, fuck it. I'm going to talk about everything because, yeah, I did fuck up, but you know what? I also had a great run as well. So check out those interviews. Obviously, Phil Heath, tremendous interview as well. Insights into what he's been thinking and going through the last year. Will we see him on the Olympia stage in 2020? So, I mean, top notch. And then you're going to be in Dubai next week, which is even better because you're going to get all the top guys, you know, again. You're going to get Phil again for sure, but you're going to get Kai. You're going to get, who else is going to be there? Sadiq Hadzovic is going to be there. Johnny Jackson, we haven't seen in a while, will be there as well. You're going to have
Ronnie Coleman. I don't know if you mentioned
Coleman will be there. Of course, we just interviewed him. I will get some more insights from him. Larry Wheels will be there.
Wheels. Hadi Chupan's going to be there as well. So.
You know, you'll have via translator. So a lot of great stuff. You know, a lot of people are shutting down for the year. We're just starting to wake up for the year because we got a lot to talk about and a lot going on. And 2020 is going to be a super exciting year. So I can't wait, you know, to really start getting into people's minds and seeing what they have planned for the 2020 season. Because I think 19, there was a lot of drama that went on, but I think we're going to see a lot more in the terms of superstars emerging in 2020.
So again, as Dave mentioned, next week, the Dubai Muscle Show, of course, we're going to have all those interviews for you as they come at RxMuscle.com, and the YouTube channel. We'll post the full list of interviews on our social media as well. Let's go to the questions. The first two questions from the Dave Palumbo Experience app. The first question, Dave, TRT for 3 years at 200 mg a week. If it were you, what would you do to get a little bump in muscle mass without jeopardizing your health?
You know, it's a loaded question because where do you draw the line? Why are we saying 200 milligrams per week for HRT or hormone replacement therapy dosages? Who knows? I don't know. I took 200 milligrams a week and my levels were very high on my blood work. So maybe that wasn't TRT. Maybe for me that was like a real pharmacological dose because I was at like 1400 on my total testosterone. I know guys that take 200 milligrams a week and they're at 600, which is low. Or not low, but is mid-range, normal. So for every person, there's different dosages that would be considered, you know, therapeutic dosages and pharmacological or drug-induced, you know, dosages. How high you can go without jeopardizing health, it all depends on your health markers. Is your blood pressure normal? Okay. Are you holding excessive amounts of fluid? You know, how is your cholesterol levels? What's your creatinine levels for kidney function? You have to look at all these markers. I know guys that can take 600 milligrams a week. They grow great from it. They have no side effects whatsoever because it's a long-acting ester. It's not liver toxic, and their blood pressure is fine. So it's what you want and what you're comfortable using. So for me to tell you, 300 or 400 milligrams a week is something you can bump it up and get good results and not have any negative health ramifications, I don't know. Your blood pressure may go up and it might get out of control, or it might not. You know, I know guys that take 1,000 milligrams a week and they have no negative health ramifications whatsoever. Does that mean you should run 1,000 milligrams a week year round? Probably not. So you got to decide where your line is. You know, the bottom line is that if you want to take the minimum effective dosage to get your testosterone level at the high normal value. If you could take 150 milligrams of testosterone a week and be at 800, 850 on your total testosterone, that's high normal. That means that's perfect for you. That's your dosage, okay? And if you want to do a cycle during the year and come off of that, that's up to you. If you want to stay on a healthy HRT dosage, then you stay on that. You know, so there's a blurry line in between of where you want to go and where you don't want to go, and that's a personal decision.
Second question again from the Dave Palumbo Experience app. Dave, what tips do you have for someone off-season but has a ferocious appetite? I gain fat easily and I'm always hungry.
You know, I don't know why some people's appetite is not under control, but, you know, some people just are hungrier than others. And, you know, there's a hormone in our body known as leptin. Leptin basically tells the body, stop eating. You know, you're not hungry anymore. But a lot of people are what we call leptin resistant, meaning that the receptors for leptin don't work. So they got a lot of leptin around, but it can't bind to anything and actually act. So what do? They found that something like 80% of obese people have higher than normal leptin levels when you would think they would have low leptin. That's why they eat so much. They just don't respond to it. So, you know, there are nutritional supplements that help that. I have a product called FIBERLYZE, my stimulant-free fat burner that has an ingredient in there called African mango, which actually will sensitize or resensitize your leptin receptors. So they actually make them work better. And so when your body releases leptin, you recognize it. And it basically blunts your appetite. So it's not an appetite suppressant. It just helps your natural leptin levels work appropriately and effectively. So a lot of people like the product because they lose that voracious appetite, that they have when they're dieting, because their body has normalized itself in terms of sensitivity to leptin. That doesn't mean that you're not going to be able to eat, at all. It just means you're not going to be ridiculously, like this person is saying, hungry on a regular basis. So that's what I would recommend doing. Try that first before you do anything else. Obviously, any kind of stimulant will suppress your appetite a little bit. The problem is when it wears off, you're doubly as hungry. So try FIBERLYZE, 1 pill 3 times a day.
Let's go to our Instagram questions. Again, if you're not following us, our handle is official_RxMuscle. And we first go to Eric McKinnon. Do you have any educational resources, books, articles, etc. you would recommend for someone wanting to learn more in depth about the physiology of bodybuilding and nutrition?
It's here's the problem. There's plenty of physiology books out there. There's plenty of anatomy books out there. There's plenty of biochemistry books out there. And there's even a few good diet books out there. But the problem is it's putting it all together so that it applies to bodybuilding. And that's what wasn't out there. And that's why I created my Secrets to Becoming a Diet Guru course that I give every quarter of the year. And we always sell out every class. And the reason is because people they want someone to put it all together for them. And I've done it. I have a workbook that's 85 pages that you get for, as part of the course that you take, and it has all my protocols in there and formulas, how to figure out your diets. The problem is that you really need to hear me explain everything. And so the course is really good for people who are looking for more knowledge and for how to understand the science of what's going on in the body. So I highly recommend that you guys make the pilgrimage out to Cape Coral, Florida, which is not so bad in the winter, especially because it's nice and warm here, and take the next course I'll be giving, which will probably be the last weekend in January. As far as books to read that pull it all together, sorry guys, I haven't written that book yet. I've had a couple of people actually contact me and say, I can write that book with you. I'll do the work, just give me the information. So you never know. At some point I might put it all together into a book, but the sad truth is that no one reads anymore. And because no one reads anymore, I almost feel like I'm wasting a lot of time when I could be doing these courses and doing these videos to educate people. I think that's more time productive, or at least it's hitting a much larger population of people. If I put up a video explaining, a ketogenic diet, or explaining, the physiology or the biochemistry of what goes on when you take nutritional supplements, 100,000 people could see it. I mean, I doubt even close to that. Maybe 10% of that will read a book if I put it out. And that's just the way the current population is. If I wrote the book in the 90s, I'd sell out of them 10 times over because there was no internet. But that's the way it is today. So right now I've been focusing on the classes I'm giving and on the videos we put up on the RxMuscle YouTube channel.
Let's go to KPAR Inc. They say that you should not eat fats prior to a workout because of slow digestion. So if you're on a keto diet, wouldn't you consume fat prior to a workout?
Well, I think fat prior to a workout is actually good. Not excessive amounts of it, but some of it, because it slows the absorption of the food, and it actually gives you a more sustained release of nutrients into your bloodstream while you're training. Actually, I always found that if I ate very, very fast, rapidly absorbed carbs and or protein prior to a workout, I always crashed during the workout and I got low blood sugar. Like if I use like my FIBERLYZE and ISOLYZE, which is a whey isolate with a high molecular weight carbohydrate alone, I felt great initially, and then probably 20 minutes into the workout, I usually get a low blood sugar going. Why? Because I'm stimulating so much insulin and I'm absorbing all those carbs and proteins so fast that I actually go low. So I actually have guys actually add some fat to it. I'll usually throw a tablespoon of macadamia nut oil in with my ISOLYZE and FIBERLYZE. Why? Because that'll slow the transit of that protein and carbs into the bloodstream so that it will last the entire workout, as opposed to just getting this huge spike and then going low. The only time you don't eat fats in your diet is post-workout. Now, when you're dieting, there's no rules. We're not trying to gain muscle necessarily. We're trying to retain muscle. So post-workout, on a contest diet or a diet to lose body fat, You can have protein fat. It doesn't matter if the protein takes a little longer to get in. But if you're trying to grow and you're trying to maximize how fast protein and carbs get into the muscle cells, then you don't want to have fat in that meal or quote shake post-workout. Every other time you have fat.
Let's go to interesting one here from IFBB Tenacity. How do you tell the difference between gynecomastia and chest fat?
You could feel it. You could feel it. If you squeeze the tissue right under the nipple there, the glandular tissue has like a very fibery, rubbery texture to it. And if it's actually inflamed because you're taking anabolics and you have high estrogen, it'll actually be nodular. But it's not always nodular. Like when I was a kid, I always noticed that I didn't have any fat on my body, but when I would grab the tissue, my chest here, I felt like I actually there was some kind of like something in there. It was glands, basically. They were flat, but they were glandular tissue there. And I didn't really like it because it didn't really hang, but I never had like a really defined lower pec. Once I got the gynecomastia out, and Dr. Blau removed it, I had a really nice, well-defined lower border of my chest, and because there was glands covering it. Remember, there are women with small breasts, there are women with big breasts. Same thing with men, except we're not exposed to the high level of estrogen that women are, so the glands never really, grow. Now you take anabolic steroids, and certain of the anabolics will aromatize into estrogen. Now you've spiked your estrogen in your body, and these glands can respond. Now, if you have a small amount of glands there, you won't notice it, but if you have a lot of glandular tissue genetically, it's going to get bigger. Just like in a woman who has, the potential to have big breasts, she hits puberty, and all of a sudden her boobs get bigger. So that just comes with the territory. If you happen to be one of those people who has, a lot of breast tissue, you're going to have to get the surgery and get it removed if you're serious about competing and you want to look your best. Or if it's just a cosmetic issue. If not, you don't care, it doesn't matter to you. I know a lot of guys that are powerlifters and strongmen, they don't give a crap. Then just leave it there. There's no negative to it other than the cosmetic look of it.
Let's go to Tony DeFranco. Dave, do you recommend a maintenance phase between off-season and pre-contest? I remember you talking about the body needing time to solidify the new muscle.
I usually don't take off any time between off-season and pre-contest. I wait till after the pre-contest and after the show's over, and then I clean people out for 10 weeks. However, if a person is doing a really long off-season, like maybe a year straight off-season, then going into contest prep, I'll probably at the 6-month mark give them a break just to kind of clean them out for 4 to 6 weeks and then go back on again. So, but I like usually when people cyclically diet once a year, usually I'll go show, off for 8 to 10 weeks, and then go straight through off-season, pre-contest, show, and then off for 10 weeks, and repeat that yearly cyclical thing going on. If that's not the case, and someone's taking a complete year off to grow, then you can go off every 6 months, for 8 weeks, 6 to 8 weeks, and until you get into, once again, you get down to that year. Okay, this year, coming up 2020, I'm going to compete in the summer. Okay, we're going to start off-season now. We're going to go straight through, right the pre-contest cycle, and then go into the show.
Let's go to Aaron L. Wood. Cortisol and stress, do they affect blood sugar levels? If so, how big of an influence are they?
Well, the hormone cortisol that's released from the adrenal glands, raises blood sugar. Cortisol tells the liver, take amino acids and make glucose out of it. And what happens when glucose is released into the bloodstream? Your body releases insulin, So high cortisol levels are not good. And also when you're stressed out, your body releases a lot of epinephrine from the adrenal glands as well, also known as adrenaline, and that raises blood sugar. So it's like a two-pronged approach. And now your pancreas has to crank out insulin. So you don't want that. So you don't want excessive, chronically high cortisol in the body.
Familia Di Panone, 20 minutes in the sauna post-workout. Does it have any positive or negative when it comes to building muscle, or it really has no effect?
I think it's, if you like to go in the sauna because it relaxes you, great, but it has no positive muscle building effects. If anything, it just dehydrates you, which probably makes it, worse. I know guys, I used to, when it would be freezing in New York, literally I would come in from chattering, outside. I'd go into the gym and I would be like, man, I got to squat now. My legs are all cold and tight. I would go sit and I just walk into the sauna, with all my clothes on for literally 2 minutes, heat myself up and then go out there and train just to kind of warm the muscles up. But other than that, I'm not really into the whole sauna, steam room type of therapy. Except if you got to make weight, sometimes it's good to go into a sauna because you'll dehydrate fast and you should be able to drop a couple pounds in a few hours.
I'm trying to. Oh, here we go. When you have, it's from Lotate 901. When you have carbs, pizza, or something along those lines, can FIBERLYZE help neutralize some of those kind of carbs?
There's no such thing as a free meal. Fiber will not help your body, cheat essentially and not absorb the calories. Theoretically, fiber can bind up some fats, but it's probably not going to be a significant amount. So don't think you could eat a pizza pint, take a scoop of FIBERLYZE, and it's like, oh, I just pooped it out. I'm not absorbing any of that. That's not going to happen.
Big Natty Daddy, ideal temperature to store anabolics?
Room temperature is fine. You just don't want to go too hot, and you don't want to freeze them. I know guys used to put them in the refrigerator, and that's fine, but then the oil kind of sludges a little bit, and so just leave it at room temperature as long as it's not, 95 degrees in your house.
Interesting one here from, looks kind of like a bot name, R9999. How much muscle, during your competition career, or bodybuilding career rather, how much muscle did you gain in the beginning phases, first 6 months, versus, I guess he draws that out from a 1 to a 5 year cycle. So first to 6 months as opposed to then over the course of the next 5 years.
A lot of people don't believe me when I tell them this, and I have no reason to lie, but when I started bodybuilding, the first 5 years I bodybuilded, I gained 100 pounds of muscle. And probably most of that was done, well, at least half of it was done naturally. So I went from 140 as a runner, which I was starving myself to get to 140. I went immediately up to 180, okay, very rapidly, which is kind of where I consider the start of my muscle gain. Because I think that I put on a lot of weight fast, but I think it was because I had starved a lot of it off myself. Then I did my first show in 1990. It was a natural show. I weighed in at 168. So that I kept that as my 168 would be considered in my mind my natural body weight on stage after training for like a year and a half or something like that. When I competed again in 1992, I weighed 200 pounds or 198. So I gained 30 pounds of muscle from that point. Okay. Then I competed in 1994 at the Junior USA where I took third, and I won the New York Metropolitans, and I weighed 228. So I gained another 30 pounds. Okay, in another 2 years. Then I competed in 95 at 258. So I gained another 30 pounds. And then I gained another 10 pounds the following year when I competed in 96 at the NPC Nationals. So it was like 100 pounds over the course of 5 years or so. So, 5 to 6 years. It was more than that, actually. If you count the initial 40 pounds I gained after I stopped running, which really to me wasn't real weight, but I guess it was. I technically went from 140 to 180. It happened because I ate right. I never missed meals. I trained heavy. I always pushed myself in the gym. And to me, if I wasn't gaining, then I wasn't doing something right. And I would get that food down. I have people who contact me all the time. They're like, I can't eat all this food. What am I supposed to do? I'm like, find a way to get it down. I did. Blend it up. Drink it. Whatever you got to do. If you got a fast metabolism, you got to get the food down.
I might be pronouncing this incorrectly. It's Kjellstrom, Martin Kjellstrom?
Yes.
Martin Kjellstrom. So yeah, Don Shanky has a question about Martin Kjellstrom. Who, between you guys, at your best, who was the biggest and heaviest on and off season? And then he goes on to ask about, I guess, who you coach, and talking about 2009 when he qualified for the Olympia. Do you still have contact with him?
I haven't talked to Martin Kjellstrom lately. He'd come over to my house before. He's a good guy. He's a freak of freaks. He's really big. You know what? I had some like freaky, crazy, veiny, dense muscle that I think a lot of people just were whacked out about. He's a big, I didn't have a big structure. That's what was deceptive about me. I had a small bone structure, but I had a lot of muscle in my body. If I was a little wider bone structure-wise, I probably would have been a much better bodybuilder as far as in competition goes. He's a bodybuilder with a huge structure. I think a lot of his weight is his bone structure. He's wide. He's got a big, he's got big bones, heavy bones, and he had a lot of muscle on it. But for some reason, I think it looked like I had more muscle on my body because of the fact that, let's face it, I had a small structure. It's like the old Flex Wheeler thing. Flex had a great structure and wide structure, but he had tiny little joints. So, he could weigh 228 and he looked enormous. And so it's deceptive. But Martin, aside from Greg Kovacs, Martin was one of the most impressive guys to see in person.
Physique T Academy, seeing that you live relatively close to Ben Pakulski, why don't you have him on the show? You guys, I guess, why don't you have him on the show more regularly?
We could do it. Ben's busy and I'm busy too. I'd love to get Ben to come down to the studio. And if, once my kids get a little older, Tyler and I will get in the car and we'll drive up to Tampa and go to his gym and film there too. Because, like I said, it's not that far. It's probably a 2.5 hour ride. I mean, it's not like around the corner. If it was 20 minutes from here, I'm sure he'd be on the show and I'd be on, at his gym a lot more. But, when you have, it's hard to explain until you have kids. I never had kids either. But when you have kids, there's no time in the day to do anything. It's like, where did the time go? I'm like, holy mackerel, it's 9 o'clock at night already. I haven't even done any emails yet. So it's tough. I try to squeeze stuff in, and I love having Ben on the show because I like to talk science with him. I like to talk training with him. We get him on every once in a while, and like I said, he's got me on his podcast before, so I love doing stuff with him.
Take a couple of more. Alexander Jarmazov. How do you know when the weight is too heavy and when it's too light for optimal hypertrophy?
Well, you know when it's too light because you're doing too many reps and you're not even, after 15 reps, you can still do more. That's too light. Too heavy is, your form is deteriorating. If you can't use good form, the weight is too heavy. I've done sets where I've only done 4 reps, and the reason why I only did 4 reps is because if I did the 5th rep would have been terrible form, and I didn't want to cheat. So, if you can't do at least, 4 reps, then the weight is probably too heavy for you. Sometimes you have to do a 2 or a 1 or 2 rep set just to get used to the weight, because look, you don't go from, 365 on the bench to 400, without it being tough. So you might only get 1 rep the first time you do it. Once you get used to feeling that weight on your chest and pushing it, your weight goes progressively up. So once again, if you're controlling the weight and you're getting good reps out, the weight's good. If it's too easy and you feel like you can do more, then you got to raise the weight.
I'm going to ask you this sort of in a 2-part question. Thudo Robert wants to know, during your best lifts, what gear do you use as far as knee sleeves, wraps, etc.? And then 11 Moo wants to know your biggest arm size you ever reached at your peak bodybuilding days, on season, off season, whatever.
I had 22.5-inch arms, which I felt was really good because I was never a genetically gifted arm guy. So that was pretty impressive for me, I thought. And in terms of gear, I always wore a belt. I liked the belts. I liked leather belts that weren't too thick with it because then they would dig. I have a short torso; it would dig into my stomach. And I liked the ones that had the little bubble in the back that kind of supported the lower back. I used those for years. I would always use that anytime my back was in a compromised position. Any back exercises. Sometimes if I did squats or deadlifts, or if I did any kind of shrugging movements, I would keep the belt on. I also would put knee wraps on if I would squat over 400 pounds. So if I went up to 500, I put my knee wraps on. Under 4 or under, I didn't use knee wraps. And that was it. I didn't use any other, once in a while, I think at one point I started wearing some gloves, workout gloves, because the palms of my hands were getting eaten alive by those gnarly bars. We would use these really gnarly bars when we would bench press because you'd be so nervous with 400 pounds that it would slip out of your hand that it's better to kind of, basically make an indent in your hand and just get stuck there. And so, at some point I think I started wearing gloves. But other than that, I really didn't wear any equipment. Oh, and I used the straps. And then at the end of my career, I used the grippers for back, always. I mean, Dorian used them, Ronnie used them. You can't get a good back workout without them because your arms will always be weaker than your back.
That's going to do for this episode of Ask Dave. Reminder, Black Friday sale. It is only a 24-hour sale. The link is below. Promo code BLACK40. 40% off store-wide. And if you buy $100 worth of Species Nutrition, that's only going to come out to $60. You're going to get a free gym bag and a free Species Nutrition shirt. 24-hour Black Friday sale only at speciesnutrition.com. For Tyler Shore and Dave Palumbo, I'm Sadiq Faruqi. We'll see you next time.